Hello everyone. Now let me ask you a simple question. The Ashes are on, and is England really playing bad cricket by playing Bazball? Or are they being criticized because people don't actually understand what Bazball is? Because if you listen to the media, Bazball is being described as being reckless, unsound, arrogant, naive, especially with England getting hammered pretty badly by Australia. But I don't think most people who are criticizing Bazball even understand what it is. Most people think it's a particular reckless way of batting, but that's completely wrong. So I want to do three things. Firstly, explain what Bazball actually is. Secondly, tell you where it came from, and most importantly, explain what a team should be doing when it plays Bazball in batting, bowling, and in fielding. And by the end, you can decide whether Bazball is the problem or whether England's application of it is the problem. Okay, so what's Bazball? Now, first things first, Bazball is not a book of rules. It's not a tactical or a strategic manual. And it's certainly not just hit everything when you bat. Bazball is a mindset. The name Bazball comes from the current England head coach, Brendan Baz McCullum. Bazball, and it describes the philosophy that England adopted from 2022 onwards under McCullum and Captain Ben Stokes. Now, at its core, Bazball is about removing fear of failure. You shouldn't be scared to lose. Playing proactively instead of reactively, which means taking the initiative, putting pressure back on the opposition, and backing your players, even when things go wrong, which is the main reason why players are ready to take chances, because they know they're not going to be immediately dropped for failures. So to summarize this in simple terms, Bazball says, look, I'm here to win this game. I'm not here to avoid losing it. That's a mental shift alone. That alone transformed England's approach literally overnight. They went from cricket that was generally timid, hesitant, survival mode to cricket that was confident, decisive, attacking, and attractive. And that's why it worked so spectacularly early on. So where did Bazball actually come from? And it didn't just come out of thin air. Now look, it had three clear beginnings. Firstly, Brendan McCullum himself, the player. If you watched McCullum play or captain New Zealand, this approach makes sense. This is the same person, the same man who scored a 54-ball test century, the fastest in test cricket. He scored a blistering, magnificent century in the first ever IPL game back in 2008. I saw that knock, and what a batting display that was. That actually launched the IPL in the most wonderful manner. He led New Zealand with fearless counter-attacking cricket, and he believed that consistent pressure creates mistakes by your opponents. McCullum has always believed that positive intent matters much more than being cautious. Secondly, before McCullum, it seemed that at the time England were mentally weak and in a mess. England had won just one test out of 17. That's incredible. Batters were afraid to play their shots. They were afraid of getting out. The dressing room didn't have any confidence. Bazball was, in many ways, a mental reset. It wasn't an adjustment. It was a complete psychological reboot. Thirdly, the modern professional sports approach. Now, this is important. Bazball fits perfectly into modern sports strategy, and that includes calculated, data-driven risk-taking, understanding that controlled aggression produces better long-term results, and yes, acknowledging that entertainment matters to both the spectators and the players. Having fun while playing will bring positive results. Remember that cricket today is not just a sport. It's a product, it's content, and it's a global business, of course. Bazball made Test cricket for England and for us all exciting and watchable again. Okay, so what's the core philosophy of Bazball? So if a team says we play Bazball, what does that actually mean? Okay, so that means one thing above everything else, which is I am playing to win. I'm not playing to avoid defeat. I repeat, Bazball means playing to win. And that impacts everything that you do. How you bat, how you bowl, how you set your fields, how you handle pressure. And that in turn means positive decision making, commitment to playing your strokes, confidence over caution, creating pressure instead of waiting, and just being patient. Because in Bazball, trying and failing is acceptable. Just waiting and hesitating is not. And that distinction is absolutely key. Now let's discuss Bazball batting, because this is where most people misunderstand the concept. Bazball batting is not supposed to be just reckless slogging. At its best, it means positive footwork, clear intent, forward or back, not just stuck at the crease. Turning good balls into singles, using sweeps, scoops, and reverse shots as percentage options. Everything's on the table, forcing bowlers to abandon their best line and length. The goal is not just scoring runs quickly, the goal is disruption, like disruptive technology that everyone talks about. Disrupt the bowler's rhythm, disrupt their length, disrupt their fields. Where the criticism becomes fair is when batters ignore the conditions and the field placings. Shot selection doesn't match the game situation. Intent turns into impatience. And that, frankly, is what we are seeing England do in Australia. Now to Bazball bowling, which is misunderstood even more. It does not mean defensive bowling and waiting for mistakes to happen. Bazball bowling means setting attacking fields, bowling wicket-taking line and length, short intense spells, setting traps and setting the batter up rather than just containing runs and waiting for the batter to make a mistake. Look, the mindset is simple. We'd rather go at 4 or 5 and over and take wickets rather than concede 2 and over and get nothing. Remember that unlike T20 and ODI, you can only win a test match if you take 20 wickets. You can't win otherwise. But there's a problem facing England in Australia right now. There you have flat pitches, you have the kookaburra ball, which behaves very differently from the Duke, and relentless high-quality Australian batting. Aggression doesn't get rewarded in the same way as it does in England, and that's where Bazball theory meets reality and gets really tested. Now, fielding is also part of Bazball. You've guessed as much. Setting a Bazball field means setting attacking fields for long periods, keeping your fielders in catching positions, inviting risky shots, accepting boundaries as the price for wickets. Now that works very well on smaller grounds where there is seam movement and where batters may be a bit uncertain. But in Australia, look, you have huge grounds, big grounds, hard pitches and fast outfields. So the bowling and fielding risks are amplified compared obviously to other countries, especially England. And so what looks like a wonderful strategy in Leeds or at the Oval can look a bit naive and silly in Perth unless it's adapted. Anyway, look, to sum things up, understand that Bazball is just good, attractive, attacking cricket. And at its heart, Bazball is confident cricket, aggressive cricket, entertaining cricket, and playing with abandon and freedom. So the problem is not the philosophy. The problem is its rigid application, regardless of conditions. Bazball is not meant to be one style everywhere, one size fits all. No. You can't ignore playing conditions and you cannot ignore match situations. It's meant to be calculated, consistent aggression that is adapted to the conditions. You know, I read a headline this morning after the 4th day's play in Adelaide that Bazball is dead. Let me tell you, Bazball is not dead. And no, England are not silly for playing and believing in it. But they have to remember that Australia is the hardest place in the world to win a test series. And Bazball in its traditional form may not be the best option in Australia against the current Australian team. Anyway, I hope you now understand what Bazball is. And in my view, Bazball is fine. It's an innovative and attractive test cricket philosophy. But I think that England are refusing to adapt, and that's the real problem. Tell me what you think. Okay? Till next time.